Todd Chrisley does not care to meet Savannah's boyfriend Robert. Hello everyone, welcome back to my another video. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. It has been revealed that Todd Chrisley is not interested in meeting his daughter's boyfriend. Savannah Chrisley is dating Robert Shiver. However, he has a lengthy past, and Todd does not seem to care to meet him. How do Robert and Savannah feel about this? Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Savannah Chrisley is dating Robert Shiver. Savannah Chrisley is dating Robert Shiver. However, Robert has a lengthy past. He has 3 children. He shares the children with his ex-wife. However, his ex-wife and her new boyfriend tried to hire a hitman to kill Robert. This was a crazy experience that no one saw coming. The two are now in jail, and Robert has full custody of his children. He and his ex-wife are not yet legally divorced. Savannah has revealed that this is what is slowing down their relationship. She seems ready to have a child with him, just not when he is still legally married. Todd Chrisley does not care to meet him. It has been revealed that Todd Chrisley is not open to the idea of meeting Robert Shiver. Robert opened up about it on Savannah's podcast. I think that's probably rightfully so. It's his daughter. He is probably thinking, who's this guy? He's got all this baggage. And Todd has a tendency to be vocal on certain situations and issues. I don't know if there's many situations where nobody knows how he feels, because they always know how he feels. I have met your mother one time. She is an incredible human being. Me and Julie, we get along great. I was just open with her. It's so easy to talk tough behind the keyboard. It's so easy to read comments, and that's why I just stay away from all of that stuff, because all you're going to do is go down a rabbit hole. I'm going into this open. This is somebody that you love. This is somebody that everybody in the car loves. So I went in with an open mind, and it didn't disappoint, and I had a great time with her. I think she laughed a ton. Savannah revealed that a lot of the reason is that Robert is 12 years older than her and has 3 children. There is a lot to accept there. It seems that Robert is on good terms with Julie. However, Todd is not as open to meeting him as they would have hoped. Robert understands why Todd is being standoffish. However, he is hoping that he will get to meet him this year and change his perspective. Savannah is bummed about it. However, she seems to understand as well. What do you think about Todd not wanting to meet Robert? Does that shock you? Todd Chrisley does not care to meet Savannah's boyfriend Robert. Todd Chrisley was having a morning like any other. The air was thick with the aroma of his freshly brewed coffee. The sound of clinking silverware echoed from the breakfast table, and his latest designer suit hung pristinely in the closet, waiting for its moment in the spotlight. But as Todd ran his fingers through his perfectly styled hair, his thoughts drifted away from the mundane rituals of his daily life to something far more troubling. Something that he simply could not avoid any longer. His daughter, Savannah, had been dropping subtle hints over the past few weeks about this new guy she was seeing. He was apparently tall, charming, and had some impressive credentials. But Todd didn't care. In fact, he couldn't care less. Why do I need to meet him? Todd muttered to himself. What's the point? I've raised Savannah right. She doesn't need anyone's approval, least of all mine. Besides, he could be the nicest guy on earth, but if he doesn't wear a suit properly, I'll lose my mind. Savannah, always the optimistic and charming Southern belle, had tried to reassure her father countless times. Dad, you'll love Robert. He's different. He makes me happy, she would say, her eyes glimmering with that typical sweetness that Todd found both endearing and mildly irritating. Savannah was his little girl after all. The idea of her dating someone was a difficult pill to swallow. It wasn't because he doubted her judgment. Savannah had a sharp mind and an even sharper wit. But because Todd simply couldn't fathom the thought of anyone taking his place as the most important man in her life. That title was his. Why should I meet him? Always would be. Todd asked aloud, pacing across his marble-tile kitchen. I've got a full schedule of making my money, maintaining my empire, and perfecting my wardrobe. Why should I waste my time with some boy who probably doesn't even know how to tie a tie correctly? And yet, the persistent thought gnawed at him. It wasn't just any random guy. It was Robert. The name itself sounded so ordinary, so unremarkable. What did Savannah see in him? Why was he so special? Todd's internal dialogue was interrupted by a knock at the door. "That's him, isn't it?" Todd muttered. He had half a mind to pretend he wasn't home, but he quickly dismissed the thought. He was Todd Chrisley, and he would not let some boy, Robert, deter him from his usual confidence. It was time for a little chat. When Todd opened the door, he was greeted with the sight of a tall, blond, and rather attractive young man. Robert had that smile, brimming with warmth and a hint of nervousness, that Todd could already see through. He had done his research, of course. He knew the types that Savannah gravitated toward. "Mr. Chrisley, it's a pleasure to meet you," Robert said, extending his hand with a somewhat awkward grin. Todd looked at Robert's hand, but did not take it. "Pleasure? We'll see about that. Come on in, I guess." Savannah entered right behind Robert, her face flushed with excitement, which only made Todd feel more irritated. She was practically glowing, her eyes twinkling with affection for this young man who stood before him. She hugged her father. "Dad, you're going to love Robert. I told you he's great," Savannah exclaimed, her voice filled with hope and anticipation. Todd looked at Robert again, scrutinizing every inch of him. The man's crisp white shirt, slightly disheveled collar, and somewhat nervous posture made him look like he was auditioning for a role in one of those corny rom-coms. Todd's eyes narrowed. "So Robert, is it?" Todd began, taking a step back and folding his arms across his chest. "What do you do? How do you plan to take care of my daughter? I assume you've read the fine print on the Savannah Chrisley package, right? She's not just some ordinary girl. She's the daughter of a man who knows how to make things happen, and I expect any boy she dates to understand that." Robert, clearly nervous now, nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. I've heard a lot about you. I respect everything you've built, and I'd never want to do anything to upset Savannah." Todd studied Robert closely. It was clear that the boy had been briefed by Savannah, possibly coached, on what to say. His first mistake, Todd thought, was trying too hard. Trying too hard to be respectful, to fit into a mold that Todd had likely already formed in his mind. It didn't sit well. "So tell me," Todd pressed, "what's your financial situation like? I'm sure you've got something impressive on your resume, but how will you support my daughter? We don't need any deadbeats in this family. I don't care how much charm you have. If you can't keep up with Savannah's lifestyle, then this whole thing's a no-go." Savannah winced at her father's bluntness, but Robert seemed to hold his ground. "I've worked hard for everything I have. I'm not wealthy, but I have a good job, and I'm ambitious. I want to build a life with Savannah that's grounded, real. Grounded, real? I don't know about that, but I'll give you one thing. You're not trying to put on airs. I like that. You're honest. But I still have questions." Savannah could sense the tension building. "Dad, please, give him a chance. You'll see that he's good for me." Todd sighed dramatically and looked over at Robert, who was still standing there nervously, trying to keep his composure. Todd shook his head. "You know, Robert, here's the thing. I don't need to meet you. I don't need to know all about your job or your ambitions. What I do need to know is this. Are you good enough for my daughter? And if you are, will you be able to keep up with our lifestyle? Because if you can't, I don't care how nice you are or how respectful you are. It's just not going to work." Robert looked at Todd for a moment, then at Savannah, before responding. "I'm not here to impress you, Mr. Chrisley. I'm here because I care about Savannah. And if you ever feel like I'm not good enough, I'll accept that. But I'm not going anywhere." Todd studied him for a long moment. There was a quiet strength in Robert that he hadn't expected. Savannah was beaming, her pride in Robert palpable. "Fine," Todd said after a moment, his tone softening just slightly. "We'll see how this goes, but I'm watching. You mess up, and it's not going to be pretty." Savannah hugged her father once more. "Thank you, Dad. You're the best." As Savannah and Robert left the house, Todd stood in the doorway, watching them go. A small part of him felt a twinge of pride for his daughter, but the rest of him remained as skeptical as ever. After all, Savannah was his little girl, And Todd Chrisley never did things halfway. He closed the door behind him, heading back to his perfectly ordered life. But there was one thing that had changed that day. He no longer cared to meet Robert. Because in that one brief moment, Todd Chrisley had already made up his mind. He would never truly need to know him. What mattered was whether Robert could keep up with Savannah. Todd Chrisley wasn't worried about his daughter. He was worried about everyone else who would have to prove they were good enough to stand by her side. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, America Trends 24, and stay with us.